very warm and good morning to all of you. It gives me immense pleasure, and we feel honored to have all the thought leaders joining us from across the country and outside for the Digital Transformation Virtual Conclave. On behalf of Gulf Connect team, Department of IT, UT of Jammu and Kashmir, and Jammu and Kashmir E-Governance Agency, and our partners, I welcome you all. Digital transformation shall witness high powered brainstorming sessions represented by policymakers, government functionaries, thought leaders, industry leaders, think tanks, startups, and academia. The conclave shall focus on creating roadmaps with deliverables, partnerships, and collaborations among the stakeholders from across the sectors and segments to achieve the desired outputs through technology and innovation. Digital Transformation Conclave will offer unique and highly interactive content, connections, and conversations hosted on a feature-rich platform. As we all know, that this has been a continuous journey and ongoing on organizing forums on digital transformation, with many of you supporting us as our constant force and mentors. Our efforts have been to bring all the key stakeholders on one platform to discuss, brainstorm, and cull out some practical lessons of best practices on various government initiatives, and digital transformation remains the key. During the day, we have around 70 plus speakers from across the country with 6 sessions, 3 fireside chats, and some exclusive presentations by policymakers. With this, I would like to thank Shri Amit Sharma sir for providing us the support and showing confidence in us to build this mega virtual conclave. As Mr. Amit Sharma sir is also the program mentor for this conclave for this conclave. Thank you, sir. I would also like to thank Megha, who is from Sir's Amit Sharma sir's team, who has been patient enough and helped us in building such an amazing conclave. I would also like to thank our partners with whom building an event of such a scale would not have been possible. Our host partner, Department of IT Jammu and Kashmir and Jammu and Kashmir E-Governance Agency, our presenting partner, Intel and Oracle, our in association with partners Thales and Ra Infotech, our powered by partner Netscope, our database and data analytics partner TigerGraph, our cybersecurity partner Fortinet, and our supporting partner Punjabi Chamber of Commerce. With this, I would like to welcome Ms. Megha Khajuria, who is the Manager IT with the Department of IT and Jammu and Kashmir, to take it from here. Welcome, Megha.
Thank you, Fahim. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and a very bright morning to all our delegates. My name is Megha Khajuria. I'm working in the capacity of Manager IT Jakiga, Information Technology Department, UT of JNK. On behalf of IT, here's a hearty welcome to all of you. Thank you all for taking out your precious time to be an integral part of this program. Today, we are all living in a digital world. Digital transformation is an adaptation of digital technology. Digital transformation helps an organization to keep up emerging customer demands and therefore survive in a phase of the future. It allows the companies to compete better in an economic environment that is constantly changing in response to the technology evolutions. Digital transformation has helped the government office to use the information to reduce corruption, increase the government transparency, accountability, efficiency, and the most importantly, the citizen participation. One such example we have in our UT of JNK was the domicile certificates, where a citizen used to apply online, and besides he going to the office, the, the citizen used to get the certificate online in a time bounded manner. So today's session is about reimagining government services, deliveries, and effective governance through the digital transformation. Today we have our key speakers for the inaugural session: Shri Amit Sharma, Administrative Secretary, Department of IT, and CEO Jakiga, UT of JNK; Mr. Kapil Makhija, Senior Sales Director, Cloud Platform, Oracle India Private Limited; Dr. Rajendra Kumar Khajuria, Additional Secretary, Information Technology Department, UT of JNK, Shri Krishna Narayan Swami, founder and CTO, Netscope, Srimati Jyoti Arora, Special Secretary and Financial Advisor, Ministry of Electronics and IT, Government of India. Also, to mention here that we are delighted to have a special guest today with us, respected Arun Kumar Mehta, Chief Secretary, UT of J&K. So, not taking much of time, I would like to brighten up this morning by a small quote. हमारी महफिल में लोग बिन बुलाए आते हैं क्योंकि यहाँ स्वागत में फूल नहीं पलकें बिछाई जाती है. To all the beautiful audience जो वेट कर रहे हैं, we are not keep you more waiting to hear from our speakers, ladies and gentlemen. Now I would request Mr. Amit Sharma, Administrative Secretary, Information Technology Department and CEO, Jammu and Kashmir E-Governance Agency, to enlighten us by sharing the valuable knowledge and experience with us.
Megha, I think so. Mr. have not yet joined, right? So basically, first of all, I would request my backend team to share a small token of appreciation to you. So backend team, if you can just put on the certificate for Megha. Backend team, is it happening? So this is a small token of appreciation, Mega, for you. So we'll be sending this to you over an email also. So these are the basically soft copies of the memento which we have created for every speakers. Thank you, Mega. And as Amit Shah is yet to join, so I request Mr. Kapil Makija to start with his
Monster
speech.
start होगा
So, Mr. Kapil Makija,
ज्वाइन करना वास्ते सर.
over to you.
Thank you very much. Thanks, team. And I'm really delighted to have this opportunity to speak with all of you out here. It's really a privilege and honor to be part of this session out here. Uh, you would have noticed that pandemic in last few quarters have really taught us some important lessons of life and changed the priorities of everyone. But what we have seen that the development and progress in last few months definitely have some long-term positive impact, not only on society but on industry and governance as such. I think amidst this ongoing economic and humanitarian crisis, we have seen tremendous digital progress in our country today. If you talk about internet users, this number has gone up significantly in last few months. If you talk about mobile phone users, every telecom company have showcased growth in their numbers in last 2 years. The digital transactions has gone up significantly, in fact. And to be specific on UPI, Unified Payment Interface, these transactions have gone to like a billion transaction every month, which has grown significantly, and it's becoming extremely impossible for banks to manage such large transactions. And you talk about COVID application, which is like for your vaccination registration and monitoring. Millions of citizens have downloaded the application in few days, in few weeks time. So we have seen immense growth in digitization in the country in recent past. And the good part is that government of India is actually doing a lot to promote this digital India initiative and to bring this digitally knowledgeable economy so that we are on our track to deliver a 5 trillion economy in next 5 years time. I think the important part is that some of these companies like us, like Oracle, we are doing a bit to contribute to that milestone what we have as a country to achieve. And in fact, we are doing a lot of investment in the country as our global investment program. We have built 30 cloud data centers across the globe, and out of which two data centers are here in the country. One is in Mumbai, which we opened almost like 2 years back, and the other is in Hyderabad. And these cloud data centers offer state of the art services, which are same what we offer to all our customers across the globe, in developed countries and to our Fortune 500 companies as well. So that's a huge investment we are doing in the country today to scale this further up. There is investment happening to ensure that we improve employment opportunities in the country today. We have been hiring a lot in last few quarters. In fact, we are today more than 40,000 employees in the country today, which is like like more than any other country outside our headquarters, which is there in US. So that's where we have been putting a lot of focus. We have been spending a lot of time, energy, and effort to improve the education services in the country. And Oracle has really gone out of the way to sort of provide and impart free training and certification to our new customers, to our existing customers, to entire developer community, to any individual who want to get trained on Oracle Cloud infrastructure technologies, and for that matter, the education institutes who want to impart training to the students out there. And these are not just fundamental courses or basic courses; these are quite an advanced courses. These are architect level courses. The intent is to bridge the skill gap what we see as we embark on this digital journey. Also, in fact, we are doing a lot of investment in resources in the country. We are really going out of the way and trying to get organization on their cloud journey, on their digital journey. We are investing a lot on the best of the breed resources. So our customers and organization can actually leverage best of the breed Oracle resources and the tools, technical tools, so that customer can onboard on the journey. We're also providing free credits to the tune of 300 US dollar to every developer, to every individual who want to learn OCI for that matter, which is like 21,000 per person, and there are lot many benefits around it. We're also doing a lot of work around the startup ecosystem because we know that that's going to be a important game changer as we embark on that 5 trillion economy path. So what Oracle is doing, in fact, we are just not only providing them the technical support to these startups, we are also providing them mentoring support. We are providing them access to the global market. We are helping them with the investment. We are connecting them with the venture capitalists through our VC Connect program. So there's a lot of work we are doing with these startups because what we have seen that there are in every organization for that matter, there are two systems. One is the system of record, which is taking time to be there on the digital path, but the other system, which is the system of engagement, is moving fast toward that digital economy. And these startups are really playing an important role, and it's really important for organizations like us to support this startup ecosystem to get us there. So we at Oracle is trying to play our role out there to have this digital knowledgeable economy. And just to share it with you that Ministry of Information Technology, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology has empaneled our cloud data centers in the country to help fulfill the digital India vision. We are actually providing a high-speed digital infrastructure platform so that digital government services can be provided and digital literacy can be extended even the most remotest areas in the country today. So what this impanel mean is that the data generated by the various stakeholders is properly ingested and that it stays in the country, stored in the country, indexed, retrieved in a meaningful manner and as per the government norms. And it has to provide the best analytics that can act as an effective decision making system. So this cloud in India that is totally fully secure and has all the necessary certification with respect to data security and data sovereignty. So many government departments have been leveraging Oracle technology since long, and I think this is the best time to start engaging with us on this digital journey. As I told you that we have been part of all mission critical projects in the country since last 4 decades. If you talk about any vertical for that matter, be it banking, the core system runs on Oracle. The core banking, for example, runs on Oracle. If I talk about telecom, the mediation, the network, the billing systems run on Oracle. Any large enterprise today runs their core systems on Oracle. We have been working very closely with central government department, with state government, with public sector undertakings to run their critical applications on Oracle. So we understand this domain pretty well. And we have been working very closely with government departments. For example, we are working with Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Logistics, specifically for the logistic department on SLD project called Secure Logistic Document Exchange to sort of help in ease of doing business in the country. So we at Oracle are trying to help and solve business problems. We have been working very closely with Niti Aayog and working with Apollo Hospital to sort of track spurious drugs in the country, which is a very big challenge in that industry, using Oracle IoT and blockchain technology. So this drugs are being tracked right from manufacturing to the end state. At every stage, the chemical ingredients are being checked using Oracle IoT technology, and through blockchain, the information exchange happens. So that's one of the initiatives we have been doing in the country. We are also working with the government of India on the aspirational district project, wherein we are trying to enhance the services in these backward 112 districts which are there and which serve almost like 26% of India's population. So we have been working very closely, and they have been leveraging Oracle Cloud infrastructure for the same. A lot of smart cities projects we have been engaged to provide better services to our citizens across the country. And what we have seen is that cloud is providing an impetus and refueling this digital growth. We have seen really some faster rollout of these projects, not only just because we at Oracle provide not only just the infrastructure but the platform to run it, and the software as a service. So it's an end-to-end portfolio what we offer on an OPEX model to our customers. And the organization today, specifically if I talk about government, they are talking about the connected data centers today. They want to run their Oracle workloads, their Microsoft workload, their VMware workloads, their ServiceNow workloads, all in one data center and one hyperscaler to be responsible for that. Many government customers, for example, they have been coming back to us that they need the flexibility of deployment. They want to leverage our cloud data centers, which are MEDI certified in Mumbai and Hyderabad in two different seismic zones. Plus, they want to have flexibility to have some critical applications within their data center, within their firewall, because this is customer data which cannot go out of their premises, and they need that flexibility. So we provide the same service within that government department's data center as well, to get best of both worlds. And the most important part is that all that is through financially backed SLA, not only just on the availability of service, but also on the performance of the service, because we at Oracle understand that service is of no use unless it's giving that required performance for that mission critical application. So that's really important. And what we have seen that all these government organizations, the teams, they have been talking about the autonomous services. That means all these services can work without manual intervention. The entire backup, updates, patches, everything should happen without any manual intervention. It has to be a self-securing, self-driving, self-sustaining ecosystem with minimal or no intervention, and all that through a transparent pricing mechanism, which we offer same across all our global data centers, which are 30 currently. And the good part is that the secure environment which these cloud services operate in, we provide complete security from core till the edge. We actually provide an off-box virtualization to our customers, segregated through the compartment segmentation, and to ensure that there are no noisy neighbor impact which is there. So I think those days are not far away when our next generation would ask that if there is any on-premise world ever existed. Maybe we are just 10 years away, a decade away from that time. So in conclusion, I would like to reiterate that cloud services can only accelerate India's move towards becoming a digitally empowered society, and that's the only way to achieve the smarter and more inclusive future for every time. So I would like to thank all the dignitaries and attendees for hearing me out. Thank you and stay safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kapil. And it was a great talk on the digital India aspects and what how Oracle is aligned with the vision of the Honorable Prime Minister and the Government of India, basically. And so, with this, I would request my backend team if you can present a small token of appreciation to Mr. Kapil.
Thank you very much. I'm really delighted and honored to receive this certificate. Really appreciate it.
Okay. So, as we'd like to move ahead. So, as Ms. Jyoti Arora ma'am, she has a budget session, so she has to leave. So, we need to, by everyone's permission, I would request if you can allow Ms. Jyoti Arora ma'am to give her presentation, give her speech as he has to leave. So, ma'am, we'd like to welcome you. So, over to you, ma'am.
Very good morning to all of you. Thank you, Amit, for inviting me for this conference on reimagining government service deliveries and effective governance through digital transformation.
Welcome, ma'am. Enlighten us with your ideas.
Am I audible? Am I
Yes,
audible,
ma'am.
Amit?
Yes. You're
Yes,
audible.
Yes,
ma'am,
ma'am.
you are
Yes, please
audible.
carry on.
Okay.
Clear.
So I was supposed to be giving a keynote address. I'm not giving any presentation as the compere was telling. Um, it's very close to the heart of Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Uh, First of all, let me admit that the name of Jammu and Kashmir actually brings a lot of good memories. And even if you are sitting virtually, you are imagining the Dal Lake and all the good ambience we have uh, of I personally have very good memories of visiting Kashmir many times. Also, at this point in time, I would like to congratulate the UT of Jammu and Kashmir for doing very, very admirable work in the field of IT. I understand that the e-office which you have implemented has, in fact, this time I'm told that every year when you were changing your capital in the winter months, truckloads of files used to go from Srinagar to Jammu. But this time, or probably that since last year, now you have moved your whole government communication on the e-office, and therefore uh, it has become very, very efficient. And that is what all this digital transformation is all about. um, E-governance, as we all know, is necessary for effective, efficient, economical, as well as ecologically friendly governance. And India has moved. Its digital journey has been quite long and very, very, we are quite on our path to go towards the digital transformation. Now let me take a step back and just explain what we really mean by digital transformation. There are three steps as we understand. One is, the first step is the digitization, the second step is the digitalization, and third is digital transformation. Now, for example, if we change our physical paper to a digital paper, for example, the land record, which we normally have in our uh, books, if it is transformed into digital record, and if it is not used, it is only the first part, it is just the digitization. But once we start providing the service through the land record, and the farmers start using the land record, then it becomes the digitalization. And when we build the on top of it, we build the ecosystem as well as all the services over this particular digitization which has happened, then it is the digital transformation. So we all know we have moved from some of you I can see are have must have seen that those times when one would stand in the queue and take the ticket on the railway counter. Now this e-ticketing was started in 2002. I have personally stood in the line and taken the ticket. But today, 75% of the tickets are booked using e-ticket, and 10 lakh e-tickets are booked every day. So therefore, if you calculate all this, 36.5 crore visits to railway reservation counter is avoided annually. Now it's a huge number. Somebody was mentioning about, my previous speaker was mentioning about the CoWIN and the similar app which we ran, the Arogya Setu app. Now, from moving from e-ticketing to e-filing of income tax return to making our Aadhaar making lives of common people easier, we have moved to these kind of platforms. Yesterday, you must have seen that 100 crore vaccinations were performed. We have reached the actual delivery of 100 crore vaccines to the population of India, which is highest ever in any other country. Now, this CoWIN app, which is a digital platform on which all this was managed, now that has come from our own indigenous technology resources. Uh, Somebody said that, and this pandemic, it might have brought a lot of misery to many people because it was a global problem, but it has also created a kind of environment where we feel that the digital through the digital mode we can still keep on running the services. And 90% of the workforce, the IT workforce, was able to work during this pandemic time sitting at home. Now that was possible because we have been able to build that kind of an ecosystem in India where we have the connectivity to a large population, and also we have the capacity to run these services on that connectivity. So we are a country where we have around 80 crore population using the internet, and more than 100 crore people using the mobile phone. So it's a huge opportunity where from digitization and digitalization we can move towards the digital transformation. Um, uh, we all know how this kind of transformation has changed the lives of, I would like to take one example of GST. It's an amalgamation of so many tax systems which were taxes which were being collected at the central government level and at the state government level. We have kind of built a platform on which we can, it's a single kind of a sign on which we can get the taxes paid seamlessly without the use of any paper, totally digitally, and it has brought a lot of efficiency in the system. Uh, from the METI side, we are trying to create, we are in this avatar of digital transformation, we are concentrating on two things. One is we are trying to make, uh, we are shifting from apps to the platforms. You must have heard about the National Digital Health Mission, and from there we are making the METI is sitting with the health ministry to make a platform which is, we have already made that platform which was inaugurated by the Prime Minister, where we would like to put health record of each and every uh, person of India into that digital platform. So all the health records would be there, and so the dispensation of uh, health facilities through telemedicine, through pharmacy, direct delivery of medicine, on this platform, it will make all the health services very efficient. Similarly, we are, if sitting with the Education Ministry, we have built a platform, National Digital Education Architecture, NDEAR, if you would have heard of it, which was also inaugurated by the Prime Minister, where we are trying to put the whole digital education at one platform. Any student sitting anywhere in the country can access all those resources and then take education through that. Similarly, the DigiLocker, from the birth to death, we would like to put all the kind of record of a person into that DigiLocker. So if a student takes an admission in a college, he doesn't need to get his birth certificate from anywhere. Directly it goes to the DigiLocker. So I till now, as of now, there are more than 2 crore people who have put in their certificates, etc. And we have partnered with more than 800 universities to directly after the convocation put the records of all the students into that DigiLocker. So otherwise you lose sometimes the paper, and then every time you need that paper you have to put that paper into different kind of services. But through the DigiLocker, it's a single sign on. Nobody has to certify. If you just put your IT, and then that record can be accessed by any institution which requires. So we are working on two things. One is making the economy platform based, which will actually give rise to a lot of innovation. And second, we are not waiting for services to get digitized. We are in fact we are trying to go in a mode where the citizen doesn't have to ask for a service. It is he is given a service because if we have the record of all the persons, and we know that this person is, for example, now reached a stage where he has gone to class, let's say 11th, he is eligible for scholarship automatically because of all the data which will be put in one place. Then the service which he will be eligible for, that will automatically be provided to him. So we are, rather than moving from the students asking for a scholarship, we would like to move where we will tell him that you have become eligible for a scholarship and therefore you get this scholarship, without him actually filling any form, because all this data, everything will be digitized. So not the scholarship is only one example. Any kind of service, if a farmer is eligible for a particular service, that will be given to him rather than he finding whether he's eligible or not. So that is the aspiration of the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. I would now take last few minutes to just point out what we feel are the pillars of for the critical or the critical success factors for the digital transformation to take place, whether it is the central government or it is the state governments. One is that we have to, if we want to create that kind of a digital transformation, it has to ride on mobile. As it is, we have a huge infrastructure, a huge network of mobiles, and ministry is very actively involved in bringing that ecosystem of in fact production of mobiles also in India. And our endeavor is that going forward, all the citizens of the country should have some kind of a smart device on which all these services can be that person can access those services. Second is it will, because we want to, all this data needs to be stored. Therefore the second pillar is that it should be, the storage should be on cloud by default rather than the normal direct storage. My previous speaker also mentioned about the kind of services they are giving. There are cloud services are being offered by NIC, by CDAC, by other private players, Oracle being one of them. The third pillar is that since we want this digital transformation to be inclusive, so for some time going forward, it will need to be in the assisted mode. We are trying that everybody should be digitally literate, but we have to, since if we have to go till the last mile, we have to see that the assisted mode also remains till the time everybody becomes very digitally proficient. By assisted mode, I would mean, I understand that in Jammu and Kashmir, there were khidmat centers which were kind of providing this kind of an assisted mode of access of to access these services. In other states, we have common service centers. I do not know whether we have that kind of a network in Jammu and Kashmir, but it is akin. Khidmat centers are akin to what the common service centers are. So for some time, we to have this kind of an ecosystem, we will continue to have the assisted mode also. So the next pillar is that since we are going to go into this kind of an ecosystem, the cyber security or the privacy or the safety of data is also very important. So when the states are planning this kind of digital transformation, we have to be cognizant of the fact that the data needs to the how we treat the data. This has to be a very very carefully designed, so that we are not we are maintaining the privacy of the citizens while giving the services to them. And also the cyber security also becomes very important as and when we increase these services. The next more important pillar, which Ministry of IT is very very closely involved, is of language localization. See, unless we our only 15% of the population knows English. So unless we are able to give these kind of services in the language which they know, therefore language localization is also very important. Ministry of IT is very very I don't know whether you have heard this. We are doing we are implementing a huge program on language translation mission, where language technology mission, where we are going to make the our aspiration is that grandmother sitting in Kashmir should be able to converse somebody sitting in Kerala, and though they don't know the language, but the digital system or the technology will enable them to talk to each other in that kind of a language. And once we achieve that, then our goal of this the digitalization and the digital transformation will be what we are hoping for. um, Apart from that, there are some minor issues which also need to be looked at by whoever is designing this program, particularly for people who are in the governance. That is, we must have a time bound dispute resolution mechanism, because till now we have more of dispute resolution in a when we are talking about the physical structures. Since now we are moving to the digital structures, therefore we have to have different kind of mechanism for dispute resolution. Otherwise, even if we have our if we can get our money transferred within milliseconds, but if the frauds also happen during with this at a speed faster rate, and there is no resolution for those kind of disputes, then that will be a setback for the digital transformation. METI again is working very very close, very very aggressively on this, and helping all the departments in creating these kind of dispute resolution mechanism, also giving it support through the amendment wherever required in the Information Technology Act as well. So also we must have a feedback loop for improvement and of quality of service. And also more importantly, we will have to continuously keep levers for continuous capacity building, because we must not look at only the 15% who know English, or another 50-60% people who have access to internet or the mobile devices. We have to look at the last person, the what is um, uh, the motto of the government, the Antodaya, whoever, but the person who is the last person, unless we are able to make his life easier, the digital transformation, as envisaged by Mahatma Gandhi, will not. He did not talk about the digital transformation, but the transformation which he talked about will not occur. Digital is going to be only a means. So I understand and appreciate that this kind of conference is happening where I hope you will be taking a stock of what is being done in the area of digital transformation. We have come a long way, and we are going with a lot of speed. You all know that Digital India program was launched in the year 2014 end or 15, and in the last 6 months it has gained a lot of speed. But we hope that we are this speed will further increase, so that we are ultimately able to give all the services to the large citizens, the large population of our country, with speed and efficiency. Thank you very much. I wish the conference a great success.
Thank you, Jyoti ma'am. You have covered actually almost all the aspects of digital transformation. And when we talk about reimagining government services through digital transformation, delivery services, and efficient, effective government governance through digital transformation, I think so. It's like mostly when you talked about the localization of languages. That's, I think so, one of the most important aspects which needs to be focused on. And with this, I would like to thank you, and I'd request my backend team to share the token of appreciation, a small memento, e-certificate. This will be emailing it to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, and good luck to the conference.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks for coming, ma'am.
So I'd like to invite my next speaker, Mr. Krishna Narayan Swami, who is the founder and CTO of Netscope. He has joined us from California. Amit sir, it's night out there.
Okay. So
So
nice.
do
So
you?
nice.
Um,
Welcome.
it's a
Because
pleasure. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. So I thought I'll share some slides here. So let me try if it works.
sure, sir. Please go ahead.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, I would also like to wish from my team, the Gulf Connect team, and everyone a very happy birthday to Mr. Amit Sharma, sir.
Thank you.
Can you
Thank
see
you.
the screen or no?
No, we are not able to see it. There's a
Okay.
share button at the bottom. You need to
Yeah,
click
I
on that.
tried it. Oh, I see. Got it. I think now you should be able to see. Can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. So thank you very much again for the opportunity to speak to the conference today. My name is Krishna Narayanaswamy. I'm one of the co-founders and CTO of Netscope. We are a cybersecurity company. So in this 15 minutes that I have, I want to talk about cybersecurity. Jyoti ma'am correctly said one of the pillars that we need to be worried about when we consider digital transformation is cybersecurity. So there are a lot of good points made by the earlier speakers. One of the things that digital transformation is allowing us to do is the ability to work from anywhere, which came very handy with the pandemic, the COVID pandemic, where we had strict lockdowns and people could not go to work. Because of the digital transformation, we were able to work from anywhere and also any device, right? We heard some very good statistics on the penetration of mobile devices in India, as well as homes that are connected through internet. So this allows us to have a digitally native workforce that can be productive even in the face of very severe situations like the pandemic that we went through. Now, what this is also doing is citizen data and company data is everywhere. One of the things that Jyoti ma'am again pointed out is the cloud is a good place to store the data. And so while the cloud is a good place, it's a shared responsibility when it comes to protecting the data. Cloud providers only go so far as protecting the infrastructure. Anything beyond the infrastructure is the responsibility of the organization storing the data. So in that sense, the attack surface is boundless for the data that is being generated, because of the digitization of the business and the government. Now, we are also seeing an explosion because of the digital transformation. We are seeing an explosion in the data, right? Back in 2010, the total amount of data that was available in the world was 7 zettabytes. In 2020, it has grown to 57 zettabytes, and the prediction in 2025 is 175 zettabytes. So it's growing almost exponentially. And this is very important because now data is the new oil or gold. It is a precious resource, right? And the reason I say that is I want to give you another set of statistics. This data is under attack. This picture that you see here compiles all the major data breaches that happened in the past 4 years, right? And this is only the data breaches that had more than 30,000 records breached. And if you see, I've highlighted two of them which involved Indian citizens, right? I think one was Aadhaar cards, the other one was more PII information like date of births, email addresses, and so on. But still, because of the size of our population, any breach can result in large number of records being lost, right? So we need to be aware that as we go through digital transformation, that we are taking proper measures to protect the data at the same time. Now, let's contrast this with what is happening to typical organizations, right? The picture you see on the left-hand side is how organization used to protect itself, right? You had data centers, you had databases and systems in data centers where all the data was kept. And there was a concept of a perimeter or a palace or a castle where you can protect the bad forces from coming in, right? So anybody who had to go out to the internet, there was a lot of security that was provided at the perimeter. You may be very familiar with terms like firewalls, proxies, and so on that protect any access to the data that is sitting inside your data centers, right? Even if remote workers were there, they opened a virtual private network connection to get to the data. But fast forward to 2020 and beyond, the picture on the right is what is reality, right? No longer are organizations and governments investing in private data centers. We heard the gentleman from Oracle. They have created 30 data centers in India, and there's a lot of like economic benefits in storing data in the cloud, right? And the cloud could be public cloud like Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, Oracle, IBM Cloud, and so on. Or it could be also SaaS applications. Most organizations have started adopting software as a service applications like Microsoft Office 365, Salesforce, Workday, Oracle, and so Oracle Cloud, and so on, right? So there are many SaaS applications. According to some statistics that we gathered, a typical organization has over 2,000 SaaS applications that they're using, right? So this means the data goes everywhere. And as I said, it's a shared responsibility of protecting the data. So how do we go about doing this, right? So as we go through the digital transformation, the application and data are being generated and they're moving from private data centers, as I said, to the public cloud, right? Now, as that happens, we believe that two other transformations have to happen at the same time. One is the security transformation. As I pointed out earlier, it's no longer possible to have a perimeter where you can protect everything inside the perimeter. That perimeter has vanished. And so your security program has to adapt to that vanishing perimeter. So how do you now simplify the security for the cloud? And how do you protect your data from the threat actors who in some cases can be sophisticated actors like nation states, because there is very sensitive data that is important for the security of the country that is being stored in these data centers, right? So it becomes very important to protect the data. Now, since offices are all over the places and people are working from home or people are working from the field, you want also efficient access to the data, and that is the network transformation. So as you consider digital transformation, you also need to consider security transformation and network transformation. So what this requires is a new blueprint for how you deliver security. And I want to share the blueprint with you. We call this blueprint Secure Access Service Edge with the acronym SASE. Some people call it SASE. And what this allows you to do by adopting this platform, this SASE platform, Secure Access Service Edge, wherever your users are, whether they're working from home or they're working from offices, or they're working from like schools or colleges, wherever they are, they're accessing data. That data is either in data centers hosted by you or in public cloud like Amazon Web Services, Microsoft, Oracle, IBM, and so on, or data is being stored in external applications like Microsoft Office 365, Salesforce, and so on, right? Or Google Suite, Google Drive, and so on. Now, that access, when the users access, two things have to happen. One is you want the most efficient delivery of the service for the user, right? And that is done by doing a network transformation. There is a concept called SD-WAN, software defined wide area network, which is becoming very popular. You no longer have to deploy virtual private networks. You can incorporate a new technology called SD-WAN in conjunction with zero trust network access. Whenever users are accessing these data, you want to not trust without verifying that everything is in proper. Are they coming from a trusted device? Who's the user? Have they authenticated? Is there multi-factor authentication to ensure that the user is who they are? What location are they coming from, right? All of those services comprise the SASE platform. So that is the security part of SASE. So there's a network part that provides efficient access, and there's a security part that incorporates a lot of different security functionality to protect the access to the data, so that if malicious actors try to access the data, you protect against that, right? This is something, the SASE platform is something my company Netscope provides. It is distributed throughout the world. We have 50 data centers where we have this platform. We have invested in India. We have 3 data centers in India, in Delhi, Mumbai, and Chennai. So wherever the users are, they are routed through those data centers where all these security services are applied. And once the security services are applied, the access is granted to the application that is running in the public cloud or in SaaS applications. And in this way, you can be rest assured that your data is protected. So as you look at data transformation and look at the cybersecurity pillar of the digital transformation, I would highly recommend that you look at this concept of the SASE platform that will help you not only do the security transformation, but also the network transformation, so that your users can efficiently access the data and also securely access the data. So with that, I want to conclude my presentation, and I want to again thank you for spending the time to listen to this, and I will hand it back. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Krishna. Amit sir, you're on mute. Thank you, Krishna. An amazing presentation on the security aspects, and would like to thank you for joining us and for being a part of this conclave. So I would like my backend team to give a small token of appreciation to Krishna.
Thank you very much. Again, it was a privilege, and thank you for the invitation.
Thanks, Krishna.
Thank you. Thanks for coming even from JNK government side. It's a pleasure to have you here, Mr. Krishna.
It's a privilege. Thank you very much for giving us the opportunity.
Yeah.
So with this, I would like to welcome our program mentor, our host, Shri Amit Sharma sir, who is the Administrative Secretary, Department of IT, and CEO, Jammu and Kashmir E-Governance Agency. So we would like to thank you actually for supporting us and for making this event happen. Without yours and your team support, it wouldn't have been possible to pull up such a big event where almost around 70 speakers from across the country is participating in this conclave. And everyone was really appreciating the way Jammu and Kashmir has agreed to be the host partner and sent out the invitations and all. So thank you, sir. So over to you, Amit sir.
Thank you, Fahim, Director Gov Connect, all other participants who have come all the way to be a part of our virtual digital transformation conclave. Here, I would like to start at a point that it is a sheer coincidence that we came into the picture. Like I have been speaking in the past also in a lot of events, and Fahim and all team knows about it, and even my colleagues know. So in one of the events, actually, the journey started like this: that Fahim offered us to actually host the program, and I felt delighted and more than happy, to carry forward what he wanted us to do. And coincidentally, yeah, I could not say no, because although it's a busy day like 22nd October, coincident, and I know it is not deliberate. They didn't know it. It happens to my D-Day also, birthdays. So I thought not a bad day to actually, in fact, it's always good to do good things on such days rather than doing routine work. And it just came up to be like that. And I am really delighted that we could shape it up well. And right from top to bottom, I got support in my union territory. My chief secretary sir has been kind enough. He's a big visionary. uh, Mehta sir, hopefully we should be able to listen him soon afterwards, his vision about IT. But one thing is sure, like my government here, my union territory government clearly has a mission at hand. And that's what I would like to more. We'll listen from Chief Secretary sir, hopefully when he joins. But the mission is clear: to make things transparent, zero tolerance to corruption, and take reforms to level next. And in this context, uh, he had a vision that we should have digital village centers. And let me share here at this platform that we had been able to do it couple of months back. The first version of that was released, that is 44 DVCs were made live in JK. And other than that, the important thing was a pain area. Madam was also talking, and that's a fact also. That's a bare fact that what actually was happening, that uh, Jammu and Kashmir, two capital cities, used to operate, one from Jammu and one from Srinagar. That is, one was winter capital and one was summer capital. So what was actually happening, that because of this particular thing, there were a lot of things which were creating some kind of confusion and burden on the economy, and then files used to get misplaced on one center and the other, because physical shifting of files was required. It was a big challenge upon us since inception. Like there was a lot of things involved, environmental degradation and whatnot. So then the big initiative was thought about, like for years together we were trying to implement e-office. But it actually happened when we brought it in the forefront, and our honorable LG sir, Sinha sir, was kind enough to give it a vetting. It was somewhere around the month of April this year itself, that cabinet gave its approval, AC gave its approval, Administrative Council. So the journey started there, and we never looked back. My predecessor, Mr. Simran, actually started the process, and we were able to implement e-office successfully across the board, which meant that the physical movement of files was completely given up. Everything, data was scanned. The whole lot of secretariat, policy making departments, data got scanned in a limited time frame. And finally the operation started on e-office. And second level came when I was given a challenge to actually make all HOD offices other than civil secretariat, the next leg, live. That is, bring on e-office platform. And then my team worked day in and day out. I must appreciate within 10-15 days we were able to achieve this mission also. I have my additional secretary coming, sitting here. I have Mega sitting here, and I am sure other like Irfan and many other people were also sitting, or maybe they'll be on the background. So everybody worked day in and day out. Imran, Saima, and even whole team. We were all focused to bring it to level next. And finally, we got all HOD offices on board within a fortnight. So now we can say with pride and honor that we have almost more than 200, around 250 HOD offices who are online. That is on e-office platform. All civil secretariat departments are in e-office. So the question of shifting data from one place to another in a physical form, that is the files, is gone. That is a foregone story. So everything is happening on e-office platform. It it is a successful achievement, because in general e-office implementation, maybe it's a tough task, but it happens. But here, going by the topography, going by the conditions, like we used to spend crores of rupees in shifting, transferring record physically, men and machinery, as you call, like labor, public, everybody had to move. So it was a Herculean task. So it was a big burden on state exchequer. And the beauty of the thing lies in this, like on both the places simultaneously secretariats are functional now. Otherwise, people from one region had to wait for 6 months for their turn to actually get their works done. Visit civil secretariat whenever winter capital used to come to Jammu, or summer capital used to move to Srinagar. So those 6 months were tough months for people of one region. But now every problem has been eradicated. Secretariats are functioning simultaneously at both the places, and it has come up as a big achievement. Similarly, J&K is doing a big process, like we are into the process of totally upgradation on the modernized lines of state data center. It is a huge, humongous project, more than 100 CR. Again, it was approved by Administrative Council, and we are doing it big way. CDAC is the one who is doing it for us. CDAC is doing it very professionally. We will have an upgraded data center in which we'll be hosting a lot of things, lot of data, and almost all the government departments will be hosting data. But here I would like to highlight a couple of things. Although Chief Secretary Sir had a very strong vision, and he was very particular that this should be done in a time-bound manner, although we were the implementers, but vision was his. Like he said, all the land revenue record. Land record is the primary thing. We used to joke around and talk like, wo Lal Basta wala jo hai, Patwari log, they actually torture people a lot. So he said, wo culture khatam karenge hum. So, but then he was focused almost every day. I had to report in the evening to him that what is the progress of digitization of land records and how much data has been migrated to our servers. So I can again say it with pride and honor that before this conference had to be organized, that is before this date, all 20 districts of the UT of Jammu and Kashmir, data of land records has been brought on the digital platform. That is, the scanning part is over, and it is already ready and about to be launched. Any day we are ready for its launch now, formal launch, which is a big thing, because land records carry a lot of significance. I don't have to overemphasize. Similarly, he had a very strong vision about police walas. He said that we have to have this culture, online FIR, the whole data of police has to be brought online. And here I would like to pat the back of my team, like within a record time of 5 to 7 days, we have brought all CCTNS data of J&K online. It is already on our servers, and it was launched also day before yesterday by our worthy LG sir, along with Chief Secretary sir, and the police mobile app for help has also been launched on that day. So almost every day you can gauge the progress of e-gov reforms in Jammu and Kashmir. Or the one or the other department is launching some kind of app which is getting inaugurated by the top dignitaries, and we are in a process of total digital transformation. That is why, again, it was just on the lighter side birthday thing. But on the serious note, the most important part was, I thought J&K has reached a level in which there is point of no looking back. So we are at a level, now we are not looking backwards, we are looking only forward. We are going step by step to implement everything. Like we have had the opportunity of hosting Honorable Union Minister for Railways and Information Technology and Telecom, obviously, Shri Ashwini Vaishnav ji here. And I have had the opportunity again to accompany him whole day during the visit. He was one day here as a part of the public outreach program, which has been planned by our visionary Prime Minister, Shri Modi ji. And I spent whole day with him in district Riyasi, Jammu and different places while showing him the progress of IT. He saw some railway projects also. And his vision was very clear. He said, Amit, we have no dearth of resources for JK. The only thing is you come up with the plan we are ready to invest whatever levels are required to take JK to level next. So this was the kind of assurance I got from the top of central government also. And our state UT is very particular, that is our UT government is very particular that we should not stop. And similarly, I got the opportunity of talking with MOSIT. He was again here as a part of public outreach program. So his vision went on Chandrasekhar sir. He said that we even can do one thing, that we can create demand first, in the sense like we can use the network of all research institutions, the institutions like NILET, like of the likes, where actually IT professionals are being groomed, IT training is being given. So when the demand is created, he said, then we can use different kind of networks, and even we can take the services of different agencies of government of India, wherein we can create incubation centers, wherein investment can flow in, and government can also support after this capacity building exercise, so that they are accommodated also once the training is done. So this is the way we have been discussing off and on how to take IT reforms to level next. Because I can tell you with lot of assurance, my study says we have lot of immense talent in the field of information technology. And it's my pain area actually to see a lot of brain drain in the field of information technology from JK, because the top minds obviously move out when they don't find good opportunities here. They have no choice but to flee. I won't say exactly flee, but to find better avenues, to go with the multinationals. They create their own platforms and they reach levels. I can tell you hundreds of examples. The guys who have gone out, they are like CEOs, COOs, they are MDs, they are, somebody is heading Middle East, somebody is heading some group in US, somebody is doing, just like you must have seen at the national platform, top of the top of organizations like Google's, Apple's, and everywhere, be it software, hardware, everywhere, you'll find Indians at the top positions. So same is the case. Like, our people have immense talent, but because of lack of opportunities, this thing was lacking. Here I would like to add that government of JK also entered recently into an MOU with government of Dubai some 3-4 days back. A lot of infrastructure development was highlighted there. But to my interest, the most important part which is going to come up with this collaboration with government of Dubai is raising of IT towers in Jammu and Kashmir. It's part of that plan. So when those IT towers come up, you can very well understand that the level which we can touch. This is how actually everything comes. When Hyderabad first started the reforms, or say Bangalore started these reforms, this is how the first of all brick and mortar models come up, and then slowly industry starts flowing into it. And today we see where they are, what they were earlier and where they are now. They are IT hubs of the nation. So reforms start like that only, but I'm pretty confident. When I used to be MD J&K SIDCO between 15, 16 and up to 17, I also tried a lot to rope in a lot of multinationals and IT infrastructure related companies. And we were successful to an extent also to create certain startups and to create certain organizations who were actually IT driven. Like you would see Reliance Jio started coming at that time, and how far it has reached in JK now. We gave them a lot of space to spread their fiber network, do similar kind of activities. So all these reforms come one by one, step by step. So similarly, I would like to say that our doors and gateways are open. We are in for technologies, and we all believe that there is a situation which is irreversible, irrevocable, so far as implementation of technology is concerned. Like, we have totally shifted our base to e-office, so we can very well realize like there is no going back. We can't go back to physical files now. So similar is the case of technology. Wherever it pitches in, it may create some kind of problems to some people, because the traditional way of doing things gets disturbed because of it. But ultimately, it ends up easing out life not only of the common citizen, common person, but even, for that matter, it helps the officials also, the officers also, who are sitting on desks and chairs. because everybody is now fed up writing up big huge files, writing up notes and all. Everybody wants facilitation, business process reengineering. In government we call it government process reengineering, GPR. So everybody wants to ease out things, to cut down levels, unnecessarily levels, like file goes from this table to that table and coming back, up down up down. So those levels have to be cut down. So on my anvil, GPR would be the next target. I would like that all government departments go for government process reengineering, because this will cut down the levels, and that would actually create more opportunities for our people to realize what actually lies in the government setup. Similarly, our one very successful project I would like to highlight here, which is even got for awarding after along with e-office, is implementation of domicile certificates. These domicile certificates have replaced traditional permanent resident certificate. As you all must be aware that JK had a policy of Article 370 was because of Article 370, all residents had to get one certificate, that was permanent resident certificate, to in order to get government jobs or to purchase land or property or anything. So this particular thing actually was very much required. Reform was we replaced it with the domicile certificate, and that too in a very professional manner. Like now it is digitally signed certificate which is coming out from the executive magistrate, from the competent authority, and that too in a time bound manner, in 2-3 days. Earlier they used to take fingerprints of the human beings. Sometimes we used to joke around whether these fingerprints are human or animal prints. Like you can't distinct, like it is all out of faith. But now it is precision. Aadhaar enablement is there. Through Aadhaar, through biometrics, this certificate is being obviously supported by local documents whichever are required. So it has become a very successful thing to acquire. And then domicile certificate has also opened up the avenues for all those who could not earlier get PRC, because the area is very open, like the backgrounds, like who have stayed here, even outsiders, everybody can now come. Anyways, 370 is gone. So that is the foregone story. So it has become a very successful IT e-governance model which we have implemented in Jammu Kashmir. So similarly, I have many things which we have implemented in the past, in the last few days, which I'll be talking throughout the day whenever we have to actually go. But in nutshell, like I would say that we have lot of ground to cover yet. It is just a beginning, and this conclave, this conference is also part of those attempts only which we are making. Like we are trying to actually make everybody realize that JK is going a big way. We are trying to spread the network of all things. Like we understand that today is the era of artificial intelligence. Today is the era of robotics. Today is the era of advanced form of IT, be it hardware, be it software. So we are trying to go in sync with what is the industry up to, like the industry standards, and we are trying to make it more practical and more feasible for the citizens out here. Even we are going in for collaboration, hopefully, with CSC. Like we can deliver certificates or services to the last mile user at residence itself. Whatever, like VLEs can go, and all government department services which are assured under Public Service Guarantee Act, they can go, people can go straight away and get the services at their doorstep. Only VLEs will go and deliver on simple dialing a mobile number. We'll try to create a helpline after signing an MOU with CSC. CSC SPV is one of the biggest ones in the nation, which is doing very good work. So we would like to go step by step and do all these things. And then another part of my vision says that we should have a common database for all the citizens of who are residing in Jammu and Kashmir and availing different benefits as beneficiaries in departments, say health departments, say food and civil supplies, say social welfare, any department who is seeking. So same name, same beneficiary database, a uniform database with deduplication of data, and such exercises have to be done. So lots and lots of things are lined up. We need to go ahead with a lot of plans, lot of things. Let's see, with the support of industry out here, with the support of all coordinators, all the groups who are working day in and day out, with everybody's support, we are we are ready to go ahead. So this is my introductory welcome once again to all of you on today's auspicious day when we all have we have humongous number of speakers, 70 80 speakers who have actually consented to be a part of this JK, this program being hosted by JK and done by GovConnect. This is a very important program, and I wish you all the best for the upcoming sessions. And I will have a lot of takeaways. My team will note a lot of good things. Same with GovConnect also too. So we wish that this ends up as a very good program, a very good conclave in which we gain and gather a lot of things. Everybody has a lot of takeaways from all these sessions which are going on. So wish you all the best once again, and I'll be back here in different sessions as and when I'm required. So thank you, Fahim, and the whole team. Megha. Everybody has done excellently well. And I can now give it back to you, Fahim, and please carry on. And wherever our support is required in future also, you're most welcome.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Amit sir, for a very interesting speech on the particular topic and the way, the kind of work which JNK, UT of JNK is doing. It's like you are actually in a transformation, this digital transformation mode. You have really taken it quite seriously and working it in a quite great manner. So I'd request my backend team to present a small token of appreciation for Amit Sharma sir. Thank you, sir, for this. And also, we would like to do a physical event soon with you in JNK. And Megha, I would like you to take it from here.
Thank you, Fahim. Now I would request Dr. Rajinder Kumar Khajuria, Additional Secretary, Information Technology Department, UT of JNK, to enlighten us by sharing the valuable knowledge. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Megha. Uh, First of all, I would like to welcome everybody in today's digital transformation virtual conclave. And my special thanks to our worthy Chief Secretary JNK, who will be joining us very shortly by sparing time out of his very busy schedule to attend today's DT visual conclave. My secretary IT has given a very broad view of all the IT related works which are in process and which we have already completed in UT of JK. Thank you, Amit sir. You have given a very vast concept and vast knowledge about discussed vastly about all the projects. But I would like to give a very short keynote on today's event. As you know, with regard to digital transformation, which is a process of using digital technologies to create or optimize the business processes in order to improve the company and customer experiences and meet changing customer demand and market requirement. As far as digital government transformation is concerned, it is the ongoing application of modern technology to improve government performance. So, digital government services, which we otherwise called as the e-government, are the service deliveries within the government, as well as between the government and the public, using information and communication technologies. You know, the government of UT of Jammu and Kashmir is working with a vision of e-governance as delivery of services at the doorsteps of common man at an affordable cost by using information and technology in the process of government functioning to bring about simple, moral, accountable, responsive, and transparent governance, which in short, we call it as a smart government. And with the same vision, our government of Jammu and Kashmir is undergoing digital transformation at all levels in order to deliver the government services and programs more efficiently, transparently, and cost effectively. And as my Secretary IT, Amit sir, has already told, that as on day, almost all the government departments in UT of JK are undergoing digital transformation in one or the other fields. Our IT policy, web policy, and e-governance mission statement, strategy and initiative of Government of Jammu and Kashmir are definitely in line with the development need of JNKUT. Department of Information Technology, under the directions, under the guidance, and uninterrupted support from the highest authority, is moving very fast in order to bring revolution by switching from manual work to electronic mode through our field executing agency, that is the Jammu and Kashmir E-Governance Agency. In short, we call it as JAKEJA, which was established in the UT of JK with the prime objective to design, to deliver, and administer e-governance projects by providing the administrative, financial, legal, and technical framework in the UT of Jammu and Kashmir, ensuring transparency, efficiency, and effectiveness for the delivery of citizen services to the common people. We, as a IT department, are working for promoting and disseminating information technology culture in the UT so that the common man could avail the benefit of information technology and e-governance by facilitating the establishment of e-service centers throughout the UT through suitable public-private partnership to ensure that public gets the desired information and e-services literally at their doorsteps, to avail more employment opportunities to the educated youth of UT of JK. Besides, rural people are properly empowered. Now, with the digital transformation, the UT of JK is definitely moving ahead towards the transparency to the system and efficiency to the service delivery system. Achieving these goals will meet the governance and development agenda of Government of Jammu and Kashmir. Under this digital transformation, as our Secretary IT has already told it very vastly about the various projects which have already been implemented and or have been taken in hands, or we shall be taking in hand in the coming days. However, to be more precise, I would like to share few of the projects which have been executed by IT department, definitely through our agency, executing agency, that is JAKEJA. First and foremost is the state data center, which that is SDC. You know, it is a premise data center, and in this CDAC, it is the system integrator for this, and we have a vision to upgrade this state data center as Tier 3 data center, cloud environment security operations center, that is SOP, and DR side will also be setting up in the coming days. As far as next important project is State Service Delivery Gateway, which we call it SSDG, which was approved by the Government of India for design and development of government to citizen services for different departments. And it has helped to simplify the processes and make access to government services very easier. With regard to this thing, common service centers, as Jyoti ma'am had already stated in her keynote, that we had a khidmat centers in JK. Now we have switched over to same like common service centers as is there in other states of the country. Now we have a state-wide area network, which we call it as a JK SWAN, which is a NEGP project envisaged as a converged backbone network for data, voice, and video communication throughout UT. It is completed up to districts and block levels across the UT of JK. When we talk about e-office, as already been told that e-office has been successfully implemented at both the civil secretariats as well as at all the HOD levels, and definitely our days are coming when we'll be moving further to still higher to the down offices. We have already introduced Sparrow for filling up of APRs with regard to Jammu and Kashmir Administrative Officer, Jammu and Kashmir Police Services, on the line of Indian Administrative Services, Indian Civil Services, and definitely, and we are moving further to introduce Sparrow for in case of Jammu and Kashmir Forest Services also very soon. As already told, that 44 digital villages have already been developed as integrated administrative units with block, district, and sectorate through digital interventions. So panchayat offices are integrated with the higher offices. We have come up with the e-districts. We have come up with the e-prisons. That is the automation of prison departments. We have come up with the e-JDA. JDA is the Jammu Development Authority, like for the State Department, and like that other more department also. Disaster recovery site for commercial tax department has also been established by IT department. We already had e-assembly. Then another is the Mumkin, which aims to facilitate the youth of JK to establish the sustainable livelihood lines in transport sector by providing financial assistance for purchase of new small commercial vehicles. In this Mumkin, the application facilitates online approval and disbursal of benefits also. Then already told with regard to e-domicile, which was a very, very important part, in which the ground level person, the very common mass, a common person is got benefited by this e-domicile. And this project e-domicile, it has successfully rolled out across the districts of UT of JK. Then as there in other states also, with regard to biometric attendances in Secretariat and other offices, then very noble initiative initiated by the office of Honorable Lieutenant Governor of UT of JK, that is the Awam Ki Awaaz. It has also been introduced by the Department of IT through our field executing agency, that is Jakeja. And this Awam Ki Awaaz, it is disseminating the progressive steps taken by the government and to seek the public feedback to make this process very interactive, participative, and people-centric. Then we have come out with another important project, that is JK Pulse. This JK Pulse, it has been successfully implemented in all the development departments vis-a-vis PDD, that is a Power Development Department. Of course, now we have a SPDCs. Then we have a Jal Shakti Department, we have PWDs, Planning, Home. And moreover, this JK Pulse, in this, it stands integrated with a BEAM, application of the finance. Now, this JK Pulse, it has facilitated the real-time inspection of all the development works in different departments by use of smartphones, because we have to carry out the geotagging and time stamping. In case in this particular, with this JK Pulse, the false reporting has been overruled now. Nobody can go for the false reporting. So we are moving more and more towards the transparency and effective e-governance. And now, making this information available to citizen as was a main goal of e-governance initiative. So in order to provide the efficient and effective citizen services, it is very necessary that all the department initiatives are scalable and interoperable. However, it is observed that several governance initiatives taken at various departments do not comply to the e-governance standards, and they are running discreetly for MIS purpose. Many departments are having standalone legacy applications which may not be reusable in order to achieve an integrated government structure. Accordingly, the steps have been initiated to bring the individually managed e-services of all the departments on a common .in domain, so that the departmental applications are integrated on a backend so as to facilitate the common service centers to address the wide range of services from a single window. So at the end, I would like to say that this digital transformation, it has made the communication very simple and very effective, and we must look forward to accept and implement new technology for the benefit of citizens. And I can say that this digital transformation, it is a never-ending process. Every day is a new day. As far as digital transformation is concerned, digitalization is concerned, every day is a new day. And our IT department definitely shall not leave any stone unturned and shall work in full vigor to achieve our goal with regard to digital transformation under the able administration, able guidance of our Secretary IT, our Chief Secretary of JK, who has a very good vision under the with the full support of our Honorable Lieutenant Governor of duty of JK. Thank you so much for giving me time to speak and to present little bit about the various activities which are being carried out in the duty of JK. Thank you so much. All the best.
Thank you, Rajendra sir, for a very interesting talk on basically what exactly the JNK government is doing in terms of the digital transformation thing. So I would like my request my backend team to present the small memento, e-memento basically to Dr. Rajendra. Moon, can you just
Thank you so much. Thank you so
give
much. Thank you so much. All the best.
that, sir? So, so as CS is like he'll be joining in next. He might be joining in next 2-3 minutes, right, Megha?
Yes, we are checking the availability, please.
So I'll request my backend team to play some video. And also we have a
Instinct, our natural and intuitive way of acting and thinking. It's built into our DNA and kicks in the day we're born. It can't be taught, only felt and trusted. Great businesses need a cloud that behaves instinctively, which hasn't existed until now. Meet the next generation of cloud, delivering faster and smarter reflexes in every situation with the world's first autonomous database, cutting-edge AI, machine learning, and core-to-edge security. Gain superior performance for mission-critical workloads. Evolve your business with seamless migration, integration, and innovation to our local data center. Simple, powerful, predictable. That's the nature of Instinct and the DNA of our cloud.
meanwhile we'll just wait for another few minutes for CS. And apart from that, there is a fireside chat which will take place in Audi 2. The fireside chat is on empowering e-governance to meet growing citizen expectations, which will be moderated by Dr. Rajshri Datta Kumar. She is the executive director with Punjabi Chamber of Commerce. And the speaker for the fireside chat, Shri Saurav Gaur, sir, who is the joint secretary with the Ministry of Electronics and IT, Government of India, and Angya Santana Swami, who is the Director Public Sector Business Development, Oracle India Private Limited.
Instinct, our natural and intuitive way of acting and thinking. It's built into our DNA and kicks in the day we're born. It can't be taught, only felt and trusted. Great businesses need a cloud that behaves instinctively, which hasn't existed until now. Meet the next generation of cloud, delivering faster and smarter reflexes in every situation with the world's first autonomous database, cutting-edge AI, machine learning, and core-to-edge security. Gain superior performance for mission-critical workloads. Evolve your business with seamless migration, integration, and innovation to our local data center. Simple, powerful, predictable. That's the nature of Instinct and the DNA of our cloud.
Yeah, Mega. Hello.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
Instinct, our natural and intuitive way of acting and thinking. It's built into our DNA and kicks in the day we're born. It can't be taught, only felt and trusted. Great businesses need a cloud that behaves instinctively, which hasn't existed until now. Meet the next generation of cloud, delivering faster and smarter reflexes in every situation with the world's first autonomous database, cutting-edge AI, machine learning, and core-to-edge
Back in team, can you
security.
just stop
Gain
it?
superior performance for mission.
Uh, Thank you, everyone. CS, he is quite means like he's stuck up some in some meeting, so he will join us later. So meanwhile, I would like to thank each and every one of you in the panel. So thank you, Megha. Thank you, Amit sir. Thank you, Kapil Makhija ji. Thank you, Rajinder sir. Thank you, Krishna. Thank you, Jyoti ma'am. And with this, we'd like to close the inaugural session, and I would request everyone to join us in Audi 2, where the fireside chat has started. Thank you, everyone. So, Audi 2,
Thank
we
you.
all will see you in Audi 2.
Thank you.